Can you believe that 82% of marketers think that AI-generated content is as good as human-generated content?
To be fair, ChatGPT is quite good at imitating stuff that you fit it with, so delegating content creation to an AI tool is not an option. Hi everyone, it's Tanya and Galia here, your trusted navigators in B2B content marketing waters. Yes, here we are, safe and sound, although some predicted the extinction of our species after the advent of generative AI chats. So today we're going to talk about this biggest thing since the internet and its role in creating and delivering content. Uncertainty hung heavy in the air. First, ChatGPT, which was anticipated to replace content writers and reshape the very foundations of the industry. Then B.R.I.E.F, after the release of which some BizDev managers seriously wondered if it was worth continuing to develop the blog and invest in informational materials.
Yeah, no kidding. AI content seems to be the question on everyone's mind nowadays. I've seen top management going crazy over generative AI and its potential in B2B marketing. Can you believe that 82% of marketers think that AI-generated content is as good as human-generated content? At this point, I don't even know if everyone's joking or seriously contemplating swapping human content writers for AI tools.
82%? Seriously? I think
Yeah.
it's this 82% that can be replaced. Although the dust has not completely settled yet, and we can't see far into the future to predict the real impact of AI on content in the year 2050 or something, we can at least size up the current potential of AI tools in content creation.
Yeah, I think we certainly can. And I think that the biggest advantage AI tools provide is the ability to produce content at an unprecedented speed. ChatGPT can pump out a 13,000 word copy in seconds. Amazing, right? But I don't think that speed is what matters the most for marketers. It's the value that content provides. And this is where AI sucks. I mean, yeah, AI copy has the words, but they don't really have the soul behind them, as AI will never be able to capture that human touch, not to mention the plain distortion of facts an AI copy has. An AI tool I once tried made up facts and statistics to back up the point. Can you believe that?
Yeah, it can do that. And, from my standpoint, I don't think that it's even human touch that is a stumbling block here. To be fair, ChatGPT is quite good at imitating stuff that you fit it with, so it can learn from whatever text you find an exemplary one. What it doesn't have, though, is personal experience, an ingredient that is a must-have for an engaging copy. All AI can do is produce on top of something that has already been written. The odds of a piece generated that way resonating with readers are definitely lower than if it was written based on the author's or company's experience with a specific target audience in mind. On the bright side, for some copywriters, generative AI can act as a co-pilot, giving a head start on your copy. You can fill a blank page with the first draft and work your way up from there. At least you have something to push off from, meaning you get the result Chat has generated, wrinkle up your nose at the side of it, and start doing it your own way.
Well, I mean, if a blank page terrifies you, what kind of a writer are you?
Whoa, hold on a sec. Blank page can be pretty anxiety-provoking, especially for those who are just making their first steps in the profession and haven't yet developed a skill to write anywhere, anytime on a topic of any complexity, fast and sharp, as you do, Tanya. Or jack of all trade marketers who have to jungle tons of activities besides writing, or for freelancers on the verge of burning out from the number of orders, etc., etc.
I think you might have a point here that can be a matter of experience. And junior copywriters may not have that starting point automatically appear in their minds, while senior copywriters can picture an ideal structure on default to ease into the groove of writing. But I cannot but mention that AI content tools can never work out a perfect structure for a copy. So they aren't really helpful in setting your writing off to a good start. Galia, you as a content lead do a wonderful job creating a structure for a persuasive copy, and I haven't seen a single AI copy to mimic that skill and to be that well organized and clearly structured. So why bother in the first place if it's faster and easier to create a copy from scratch?
At least work-shy marketers can sip copy and paste well. The magic part is cooking content. On a serious note, if your goal is not to kill content marketing in your company, of course you can't fully delegate any part of the writing cycle. Speaking of outlines that AI chats generate, they're very superficial and too generic indeed. Tested more than once.
Yeah, by the way, have you seen that meme about AI code and a developer?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, it says it takes you 5 minutes to generate code, but you'll spend another 24 hours debugging it. And the same goes for AI content. I think it takes you seconds to produce a copy, but you'll spend another day editing it.
Oh, that is so true. Yeah, definitely. An AI copy requires hours of fact checking and editing. I mean, like heavy editing.
Yeah, that's for sure. However, I don't think that AI tools are completely useless. Sometimes you can use them to generate definitions for the terms, produce generic titles, and scale, say, cold outreach emails. Overall, these can come in handy for low-value, small-scale tasks when there is a zero risk of the distortion of facts. For example, a friend of mine uses Copy AI to produce guest posts at scale for websites with average domain authority, but you've got to be very careful when using an AI copy as is without even editing it. According to Google's search advocate, John Mueller, I think that's his name, AI-generated content created with the primary purpose of manipulating ranking in search results is a violation of Google's spam policy and can lead to a manual penalty. So you've got to be very careful with using AI-generated content for publication.
Yes, and plus you have to be super cautious about content uniqueness. I want to tell a story of mine, in late 2022 or early 2023, when the marketing community were actively getting into using AI for literally everything. A couple of times I received 30-40% unique texts from writers who I hadn't noticed plagiarizing before. Later, they admitted to experimenting with ChatGPT. And I have to say, I suspected this could happen because we're just humans and tend to be lazy. We want to do less and get more. And to be honest, that was the reason why I tried to use AI in my work, but for better or worse, the results were very modest. As I've said before, delegating content creation to an AI tool is not an option. If you want your text to convert, of course. Outlines are super generic and fitted best to write a school essay on the topic. Articles are shallow and inaccurate. So is it good for anything after all? It might be, for example, to paraphrase a sentence or paragraph that you need to make sound in a different way. It's kind of rolling out a phrase on your tongue, to finally come up with something engaging and eye-catching. Also, it might be helpful when generating headlines and descriptions for Google Ads campaigns. Sometimes it's challenging to fit your idea in 30-90 characters, and AI output can serve as a draft to write on top of. And probably that's it. So only rewriting based on the ideas I fit it with. I've never used pieces produced by AI from scratch, let alone there wasn't a single time when I copied and pasted even a sentence generated by AI without modifying it. Is that enough to substitute for human authors? Barely. AI will only replace, in fact, is doing it already, mediocre writers who sell their texts on content marketplaces for $20 per 1,000 words, those ones at the bottom of the barrel. They should probably be worried about being out of job. True professionals are at no risk. Remember, what makes a content truly valuable is first-hand life experience on the topic, something that chat can never recreate. Well, at least it can do it now. And to add to the conversation you started about guest posting, I'd like to say that generative AI is strongly appreciated by SEO specialists who build PBNs. And it saves tons of time and money on writing texts necessary solely for linking out to the target website.
Well, I think that's going to change also now as Google has implemented a new generative AI experience in search in the US. So, and that's great that you've mentioned that experience thing. It's also connected to this AI search update. So, what Google did is it made BART, its conversational AI chat service, a part of the search journey for users. And many marketers thought that for some reason that this Google AI search update will end our blogs, and there is no sense in producing blog posts and other types of long-form content anymore, as AI search will likely take away the traffic. And what I think is that this update will force everyone to produce greater content, as generic queries will be taken over by BART. And speaking about experience, along with this update, Google also announced that they will deliver a greater focus on content with unique expertise and experience, doubling down on that famous EEAT, a ranking criterion that prioritizes experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And I think the rationale behind this update is also simple. BART will likely pull in only the most trustworthy sources with that high EEAT factor. BART will likely pull in that content for its users into the AI-generated snapshots. However, we don't have the whole picture yet. So even though Google taps into artificial intelligence to make their search faster and more convenient for the user, they still understand the importance of firsthand or live experience for great user search experience. Again, something that AI tools can never cut. So even Google doesn't put AI and human writers into dichotomy. Instead, we should live side by side and treat AI more as a tech comfort rather than a competitor or worthy successor of human writers. Not sure, however, how this update will eventually impact traffic and CTRs, because Google doesn't have a great track record of maintaining traffic after its update. But still, high-quality human-crafted content is a point hammered home even by AI-first tech giants like Google. And also, by the way, we'll link all the resources we have used in the description to this video.
Yeah, I know exactly. I think that conversational AI was never meant to replace writers. The fact that a user can trust BART to find a restaurant for dinner or an outfit for an event does not mean that your B2B client is willing to choose a contractor in the same way.
Exactly.
The stakes are much higher here, yeah. That way, Google AI update will only impact queries that don't require expertise, like simple definitions or high-level listicles and others. Niche articles like the ones B2B tech writers create will always need a human perspective because it's this human perspective that is valued by the readers. So the emergence of the BART is not an excuse to give up on content. Quite the opposite. It's the reason to take a more meaningful approach to its creation, to emphasize sense-making in your copies, and thus fight for a place in BART's recommendations and versions.
Yeah, so my prediction is that content quality is going to have to skyrocket to stay competitive in this future landscape, a landscape dominated by generic AI content. Second, AI will never replace human writers, but will take a toll on mediocre writers. So mediocre writers have to watch their backs as AI content is going after them. And third, SEOs and marketers will likely have to adapt to stay on track. But those two areas, on the other side, have never been constant, so there's nothing new to that. And I also like to end this episode with a piece of advice given to creators by Google. And this advice goes that however content is produced, those seeking success in Google search should be looking to produce original, high-quality, people-first content demonstrating qualities EEAT. Remember that.
Yeah, I can't but agree with Google, sure. Yeah, we need to remember that AI is changing, not killing the game, and sets the bar high for content. So if you want to get conversions, focus on quality, not quantity. Create expert materials that give real value to the reader. Until you do, you, fellow human writer, are safe. And I guess this is it for today.
Yeah.
Do you use AI in your job? In what way? Share in the comments below the video. We're looking forward to your answers. See you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.